The human was never their victim. He was watching and waiting. The bridge of the Aurora Dawn hummed with a silence that felt almost sacred. Captain Marcus Kane stood before the main viewport, hands clasped behind his back, watching the distant stars with an expression of perfect calm. His crew had evacuated 3 hours ago, following his orders without question. They trusted him, even when his command seemed suicidal. Now he waited alone. The sensors had picked up the Zeltari warships 2 days ago, shadowing them through the Meridian sector. Most captains would have run, called for reinforcements, or attempted diplomacy. Marcus had done none of these things. Instead, he'd maintained course, reduced his escort ships, and made himself look like the easiest target in the quadrant, because Marcus Kane had been hunting the Zeltari hunters for 8 months. The console chirped softly. 5 ships decloaking, surrounding him in perfect formation. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Right on schedule. Unknown vessel. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. A sharp voice commanded through the comm system. Female, confident, with that particular edge that came from never having lost a battle. Resistance will be met with immediate termination. Marcus pressed the response button with deliberate slowness. This is Captain Marcus Kane of the Earth Coalition vessel Aurora Dawn. I'm afraid I can't comply with that request. There was a pause. He could almost feel the surprise radiating through the void between ships. You're alone on that bridge, human. Our scans show no crew, minimal weapons, and your shields are barely functional. This bravado will cost you your life. Commander Zara Thorne, isn't it? Marcus asked conversationally, pulling up her file on his personal display. 43 successful raids, 0 casualties on your side. Perfect record. You prefer to strike at dawn cycles when your targets are least prepared. You always approach from the sunward side to blind sensors, and you never, ever leave survivors who might warn others. The silence that followed was longer this time, charged with something Marcus recognized as professional curiosity mixed with alarm. You've done your research, Zara finally responded, her tone cooler now. It won't save you. Research? Marcus chuckled, beginning to pace across the bridge. Commander, I haven't been researching you. I've been studying you. There's a difference. Research is passive observation. Study is intimate understanding. He tapped a command into his console, and the main view screen split into multiple feeds. Each one showed a different Zeltari raid over the past 8 months. Footage Zara would recognize. Her own operations, captured from angles that should have been impossible. I've watched you work, learned your patterns, understood your brilliance. Did you know you have a tell, Commander? Right before you give the order to board, you always do a final sensor sweep. Just one, lasting exactly 2.3 seconds. You're being thorough, making sure nothing has changed. Marcus stopped pacing, turning to face the view screen directly. You're about to do it now. The 2.3 seconds passed in perfect silence. You're insane, Zara said, but there was something new in her voice. Interest? No, Commander. I'm patient, and I'm tired of humans being treated like prey animals in this sector. So I made myself look like the perfect victim. I wanted to meet the legendary Zara Thorne, and I wanted you to know something important. Marcus pressed 3 buttons in sequence. Around the Aurora Dawn, space suddenly blazed with light. Hidden weapons platforms, camouflaged for months among the local asteroid field, powered up simultaneously. Targeting lasers painted each of Zara's 5 ships with deadly precision. Additional coalition vessels decloaked behind the Zeltari formation, emerging from sensor-shielded positions they'd held for days. I wanted you to know, Marcus continued, his voice carrying a steel edge now, that the human was never your victim. I've been watching you. I've been waiting for you. And now, Commander Thorne, you're going to learn what it feels like to be prey. The Aurora Dawn shields flared to full power, weapon systems coming online with a threatening hum that resonated through the hull. Marcus watched the tactical display as Zara's ships scrambled to respond, finding themselves surrounded by superior firepower for the first time in their careers. Shall we discuss terms? Marcus asked pleasantly. Or would you prefer to see if your legendary tactics work as well when you're the one being hunted? On the view screen, one of the Zeltari ships began to turn, seeking an escape vector. Marcus highlighted it on his tactical display and transmitted the firing solution to his weapons platforms. The warning shot blazed past the ship's bow, close enough to rattle their hull plating. I wouldn't, he advised. The dance of predators. The negotiation station hung in neutral space like a silver jewel, equidistant from both fleets. Marcus had suggested the location, an old trading post abandoned after the sector wars, now serving as a monument to failed diplomacy. He found the symbolism appropriate. He arrived first, as planned. Control of the environment meant everything in negotiations. Marcus walked through the station's dimly lit corridors, his boots echoing against metal floors, until he reached the observation deck. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of both fleets, poised like predators waiting to strike. The door hissed open behind him. "You're early," Zara said, her voice carrying that same sharp edge in their calm exchange. Marcus turned slowly, finally seeing a woman who had haunted his tactical displays for 8 months. She was tall, moving with a fluid grace that spoke of both athletic training and natural confidence. Her uniform was dark, practical, adorned with subtle rank insignia. But it was her eyes that caught him, intelligent, calculating, burning with barely contained intensity. "I'm always early, Commander. It's how I stayed alive long enough to catch you." Zara crossed the deck with measured steps, stopping precisely 3 meters away. Professional distance. Safe distance. "You haven't caught me, Captain. You've created a stalemate. There's a difference." "Is there?" Marcus gestured to windows. "Your ships are surrounded. My weapons platforms have target locks on every critical system. One word from me, and this becomes a very short negotiation." "One word from me," Zara countered, "and my fleet executes Protocol Omega. We may not survive, but neither will you or your platforms. Mutual destruction. Some might call that a draw." Marcus smiled. "You've studied me now." "I'm flattered." "Don't be. I study all my prey before I hunt them." She moved closer, closing the distance by a meter, though I'll admit, none of them have ever turned the tables quite like this. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the Carthage colony." Marcus's voice went quiet, losing its playful edge. "You destroyed 17 ships that day, killed 300 people, but you left their data cores intact. Your only mistake. I recovered the surveillance footage. Watched how you moved, how you thought, started seeing the patterns." Zara's expression flickered with something that might have been respect. "The Carthage raid was 8 months ago. You've been tracking me since then, following you across 12 systems, learning everything. Your tactics, your timing, your blind spots." Marcus took a step closer, matching her advance. 2 meters between them now. "I let you think you had Hunter, but I was always 3 moves ahead, waiting for the perfect moment." "Why?" The question came sharper than Zara intended. "Why not just alert Coalition Command? Why this elaborate trap?" "Because I wanted to meet you." The honesty in Marcus's voice surprised them both. "Because someone who fights with your skill, your precision, your intelligence, that person deserves more than a plasma torpedo in the dark. You deserve to know you've been beaten by someone who understood you." Zara was quiet for a long moment, studying his face. "You're an unusual human, Marcus Kane. And you're a remarkable warrior, Zara Thorne." He gestured to a nearby table, 2 chairs positioned across from each other. "Shall we sit? Discuss like civilized beings instead of circling like predators? Aren't we predators?" But she moved toward the table anyway. They sat, the table between them suddenly feeling both too wide, and not wide enough. Marcus pulled up a holographic display, showing fleet movements and tactical data. As he explained his tracking methodology, Zara leaned forward, genuinely interested despite herself. "You used our own sensor shadows against us," she observed, tracing a pattern in the hologram. "Every time we thought we were hidden, you were actually tracking our electromagnetic wake. It took 4 months to perfect the algorithm. Your ships are almost perfectly stealthy. Almost." Their fingers nearly touched as they both reached to manipulate the display. The brief contact sent an unexpected jolt through Marcus. Zara pulled back slightly, but not before he saw her pupils dilate. This is insane, Zara said, though she didn't specify what she meant. The tactical situation? The attraction crackling between them? Perhaps both. Sanity is overrated in war, Marcus replied. Sometimes the insane move is the only one your opponent won't predict. Is that what this is? An insane move? This is me proving that humans aren't victims waiting to be hunted. We're survivors, adapters. We watch, we learn, and we strike back when you least expect it. Zara stood abruptly, walking back to windows. Marcus followed, maintaining that careful distance. They stood side by side, watching their respective fleets in the darkness. What happens now? Zara asked quietly. You've made your point. Proven humans can fight back. Do we destroy each other here? Turn this into another war story. I have a better idea. Marcus turned to face her. You're a brilliant tactician, Zara, but you're fighting for the wrong reasons. The Zelthree expansion isn't about survival. It's about conquest. What if there was another way? You're suggesting what? That I defect? Betray my people? But her voice lacked conviction. I'm suggesting you think for yourself. Question orders. Ask why you're really out here hunting colony ships instead of defending your homeworlds. Zara met his eyes, and for the first time, Marcus saw uncertainty in her expression. You don't understand the complexities. Then explain them to me. Help me understand. He moved closer, less than a meter between them now. I've spent 8 months learning how you fight. Maybe it's time I learned why. The air between them felt charged, electric. Zara's breath had quickened slightly, and Marcus was acutely aware of his own heartbeat. This is dangerous, Zara whispered, though whether she meant their political situation or the proximity, Marcus couldn't tell. Everything we're doing is dangerous, he replied. For a moment, they simply stood there, two warriors from opposite sides of conflict, drawn together by mutual respect that was rapidly becoming something more complicated. Zara finally stepped back, breaking the spell. I need time to think. This conversation, it's given me much to consider. Take all the time you need, Marcus said. But Zara, meet me again. Same place, 3 days from now. No fleets, no weapons. Just us. She paused at the door, looking back over her shoulder. Why would I do that? Because you're as curious about me as I am about you. And because we both know this isn't finished. After she left, Marcus stood alone in the observation deck, watching her shuttle return to her flagship. He'd planned this confrontation for months, anticipated every tactical possibility. What he hadn't anticipated was how meeting Zara Thorne would make him feel. Like he'd finally found someone who understood the way of command, the burden of being always 3 steps ahead, the loneliness of being the smartest person in the room. 3 days suddenly seemed like an eternity. Secrets in the shadows. Marcus's personal quarters aboard the Aurora Dawn were spartanly decorated. A soldier space, functional and efficient, except for one wall, which was covered in tactical displays, star charts, and surveillance imagery. His war room, as he privately called it. The obsessive documentation of his 8-month hunt. When Zara's shuttle requested docking permission 2 days early, Marcus felt his pulse quicken. She hadn't been able to wait either. He met her at the airlock, noting she'd come alone as agreed. She wore civilian clothes now, dark pants and a fitted jacket that somehow made her seem more dangerous than her uniform had. People who could blend in were often the most lethal. "Commander," he greeted. "Captain." She looked around the corridor with professional assessment. "I thought we agreed on the neutral station. You came early. I assumed you wanted privacy." Marcus gestured down the corridor. "My quarters are this way, unless you prefer somewhere more public." Zara studied him for a long moment, weighing risks and possibilities. "Lead on." They walked in silence through the ship's passages. Marcus was aware of his skeleton crew's curious glances. News of the mysterious Zelthree commander had spread quickly. He'd ordered everyone to maintain distance, give them space. When the door to his quarters sealed behind them, the atmosphere immediately shifted. More intimate, more dangerous. Zara's attention immediately fixed on the war room wall. She approached it slowly, taking in surveillance images, the movement patterns, the detailed analysis of her own tactics. You really were obsessed. Obsessed implies irrationality. I prefer thoroughly committed. Marcus moved to stand beside her. Every raid, every pattern, every decision you made, I needed to understand not just what you did, but how you thought. She reached out, touching one of the images, her own ship, captured from an impossible angle during the Meridian raid. This should have been undetectable. We swept for surveillance. You swept for conventional surveillance. I used microsatellites with passive sensors, no active emissions. They just watched and recorded. Clever. Zara turned to face him. And slightly terrifying. You've been in my shadow for 8 months, and I never knew. Now you know how those colony ships felt. The barb hit home. Zara's expression tightened. That's why I came early. I've been thinking about what you said, about questioning orders, about why we're really out here. She moved away from the wall, pacing. The official story is resource competition, territorial expansion, necessary for Zeltari's survival. But you don't believe that anymore. I've been looking at the bigger picture. The colonies we raid, they're not strategic targets. They're soft targets. Easy victories to keep the fleet occupied while the High Command pursues something else. I don't know what. Marcus pulled up a holographic star chart, highlighting several systems. I've noticed the same pattern. Your raids follow a specific trajectory, but it's not about the colonies themselves. It's about keeping coalition forces spread thin along this entire sector. Zara leaned over the display, her arm brushing against his. Neither moved away. A distraction, she said slowly. We're a distraction. The question is, from what? They worked together for the next hour, combining their intelligence, finding patterns neither could see alone. The professional collaboration was exhilarating. 2 brilliant tactical minds working in concert instead of opposition. But underneath the analysis ran a current of awareness, a magnetic pull growing stronger with each accidental touch. Each moment their eyes met across the holographic display. There, Zara said finally, highlighting a cluster of systems deep in contested space. Whatever the real objective is, it's here. These systems are completely ignored by both sides officially, but there's unusual dark matter readings, unexplained energy signatures. Precursor technology? Marcus suggested, referring to the ancient civilization that had left artifacts scattered throughout the galaxy. Maybe something valuable enough to justify an entire deception campaign. Zara straightened, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. Marcus, if I'm right about this, if my superiors are using my fleet as a diversion while they pursue some secret objective, then everything I've fought for has been a lie. The vulnerability in her voice was unexpected, breaking through her warrior's facade. Marcus turned to face her fully. Not everything. Your skills, your intelligence, your commitment to your people. Those are real. Being deceived doesn't diminish what you are. And what am I? The question came out barely above a whisper. Brilliant. Dangerous. Beautiful. The last word surprised Marcus as much as Zara. He hadn't meant to say it, but honesty seemed important in this moment. Zara's breath caught. This is a terrible idea. Probably the worst I've ever had. We're enemies. Are we? Marcus reached up slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, and gently touched her face. Because right now, standing here with you, that word feels meaningless. Zara closed her eyes briefly, leaning into his touch. When she opened them again, the military commander had been replaced by someone younger, more uncertain. I came here 2 days early because I couldn't stop thinking about you. I told myself it was about strategy, about understanding my opponent. But that was a lie. I've been lying to myself too, Marcus admitted. Telling myself this was all about justice for those colonists, about tactical victory. But somewhere in the past 8 months of studying you, I started seeing the person behind the warrior. And I wanted to know her. The space between them evaporated. Zara's hand came up to rest against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. If we do this, if we cross this line, everything becomes more complicated. I know. We could both be branded traitors. I know. Our people are at war. I know. Marcus's other hand found her waist, pulling her closer. Tell me to stop, and I will. Tell me this is wrong, and I'll step back. But Zara, I've been watching you for 8 months, waiting for the perfect moment to make my move. This feels like it. Zara's response was to close the final distance between them, her lips meeting his with an urgency that surprised them both. The kiss was fierce, charged with months of pursuit and counter-pursuit, hunter and hunted finally colliding. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Zara rested her forehead against his. "What are we doing?" "Something insane," Marcus replied. "Something dangerous. Something that feels right." Zara finished. They stood there, wrapped in each other's arms. Two warriors from opposite sides of a war, having crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Outside the viewport, the stars wheeled in their eternal dance, indifferent to the complicated tangle of strategy, attraction, and possibility unfolding in Marcus Kane's quarters. The war room wall watched over them, a reminder that this intimacy had been born from surveillance and patience. Marcus had indeed been watching and waiting. But what he'd found was something neither hunter nor prey. It was partnership, understanding, and perhaps the beginning of something that could change everything. When warriors love. The observation lounge was dimly lit, illuminated only by the soft glow of distant nebulae visible through the expansive windows. Marcus had chosen this location carefully, a small civilian station on the border of neutral space, far from prying eyes and military protocols. They'd been meeting here for 3 weeks now, stealing moments between their official duties, building something fragile and precious in the shadows of war. Zara arrived carrying a datapad and wearing an expression Marcus had learned to read, troubled but determined. She'd let her guard down around him these past weeks, showing him the woman beneath the commander's armor. "Bad news?" he asked, pouring 2 glasses of Terran wine he brought from his personal collection. "The worst." Zara accepted the glass, but didn't drink. High Command has ordered a major offensive. 20 ships, targeting the civilian stations in the Perseus Belt. Launch date is in 5 days. Marcus felt ice settle in his stomach. The Perseus Belt has 40,000 civilians. Families. Children. I know. Zara's voice was hollow. When I received the orders, I almost refused on the spot. But that would have exposed my doubts, possibly got me replaced with someone who wouldn't hesitate. So I requested time to prepare and came here instead. She finally looked at him, and Marcus saw the weight of command in her eyes, a weight he understood intimately. "I can't do this anymore, Marcus. I can't keep pretending these are legitimate military targets. I can't keep lying to my crew about why we're really out here." Marcus set down his own glass and moved to stand beside her at the window. "Then don't. It's not that simple. If I refuse orders, I'll be court-martialed, probably executed for treason. My crew will be disbanded, reassigned commanders who won't question orders. The attack will happen anyway, just without me. What if there was a third option?" Marcus turned to face her. "What if instead of refusing, you expose the truth, showed your people what High Command is really doing? I have no proof, just suspicions and circumstantial evidence. Then we find proof." Marcus pulled up a holographic display, showing the star charts they've been analyzing together. "You said the real objective is in these contested systems. What if we went there, found out what's worth sacrificing your honor and 40,000 innocent lives?" Zara studied the display, her tactical mind already calculating possibilities. "It would take both our ships. Your sensors and stealth capabilities combined with my ship's speed and firepower. We could reach these systems in 3 days if we pushed hard, leaving us 2 days to discover the truth and get back before your fleet launches the Perseus offensive. It's insane. We'd be abandoning our posts, operating without authorization. If we're wrong, or if we're caught, we'll both be branded traitors." Marcus took her hand, intertwining their fingers. "We're already traitors, Zara. The moment we chose each other over orders, we crossed that line. At least this way, we can try to save those 40,000 people and maybe prevent this war from escalating further." Zara squeezed his hand, then pulled him closer. "How did this happen? How did the human I was supposed to hunt become the person I trust most in the universe?" "Because you were never hunting a victim. You were hunting someone who saw you, really saw you, and understood what you were capable of becoming. She kissed him then, soft and lingering, a moment of tenderness in a universe of violence. When they broke apart, she rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "Tell me about your family," she said quietly. "I want to know the Marcus Kane who existed before he became the patient hunter." Marcus wrapped his arms around her, surprised by the question. They'd shared tactics, intelligence, stolen kisses in the darkness. But they'd carefully avoided the deeper personal histories that made betrayal hurt more. "I had a sister," he began. "Elena. She was a colonist on Prometheus 3, one of the first settlements in this sector. She wrote to me about the sunsets there, how the binary stars painted the sky in colors Earth never had." His voice grew quieter. "She was there when the first Zeltari raids began, 5 years ago. They didn't target military installations back then. Just colonies. Easy targets." Zara lifted her head, understanding dawning in her eyes. "Marcus. They evacuated most of the population before the ships arrived. But Elena stayed behind at the emergency response team, helping the elderly and injured get to the transports. The raiders destroyed the colony from orbit before anyone realized there were still people down there. 300 casualties, including my sister. I'm so sorry." The words felt inadequate, but Zara meant them with every fiber of her being. "After that, I volunteered for every dangerous mission, every forward deployment. I wanted revenge, wanted to hurt the people who'd hurt me." Marcus gently lifted her chin so their eyes met. "But then I started studying you, Zara, watching how you fought, how you made decisions. And I realized something. You weren't a monster. You were a soldier following orders, believing you were protecting your people, just like Elena believed she was protecting hers. That doesn't excuse what my people did, what I've done. No, it doesn't, but it means there's hope for something better. Elena believed in peace, in building bridges between species. She'd be angry with me for seeking revenge, but she'd be proud if I found a way to stop the cycle." Zara's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "My turn for confession. I became a warrior because I was orphaned young. Pirates attacked my family's transport when I was 12. Killed my parents, left me stranded. The military found me, raised me, gave me purpose. I thought serving the Zeltari fleet was the only way to prevent other children from experiencing what I did. But now you're doing to others what was done to you." "Yes." The admission came out broken. "I've been so focused on following orders, being the perfect soldier, that I never questioned whether I was actually protecting anyone. I just kept hunting, raiding, telling myself it was necessary." Marcus pulled her close again, and they stood together in the dim light. Two warriors bearing the weight of their choices and their losses. Outside, the nebula swirled in slow cosmic dance, beautiful and indifferent to human suffering. "We can't change the past," Marcus said finally, "but we can change what happens next. We can find the truth, expose it, maybe save those 40,000 lives. And maybe, if we're very lucky, we can prove that even in war, there's room for conscience." Zara pulled back just enough to look at him. "If we do this, if we go on this mission together, we might not come back. Even if we find proof, even if we're successful, both our governments will see us as deserters, traitors. I know, but I'd rather be a living traitor with you than a loyal soldier who let 40,000 people die because I was too afraid to act." "When did you become such an idealist?" Zara asked, a ghost of her usual humor returning. "When I fell in love with an enemy commander and realized some things are worth risking everything for." The words hung in the air between them. Love, spoken aloud for the first time, making everything real and terrifying and wonderful. "I love you too," Zara whispered, "which is absolutely insane considering you stalked me for 8 months before we even met." Marcus laughed, the sound surprising in its genuineness. "I prefer strategically observed. Stalking sounds so unprofessional. You're impossible." But Zara was smiling now, real and unguarded. They spent the rest of the evening planning their unauthorized mission, but between tactical discussions they shared stories of their lives before war had defined them. Marcus learned that Zara loved ancient poetry and had once dreamed of being an architect, Zara discovered that Marcus played the piano and had a weakness for terrible puns that made her groan and laugh simultaneously. As dawn's cycle approached and they prepared to return to their respective ships, Zara caught Marcus's hand one last time. "Promise me something," she said. "If this goes wrong, if we can't stop the attack, or if we're captured, promise me you won't regret choosing this path, choosing us." Marcus brought her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles gently. "I promise. You're the best thing that's come from this war, Zara. Meeting you, knowing you, loving you, I'd make the same choices again." They parted with a final kiss, both acutely aware that the next time they saw each other, they'd be embarking on a mission that would either save thousands of lives or end both their careers, possibly their lives. But as Marcus returned to his ship and began preparations for their journey into contested space, he felt no fear, only certainty. He'd spent 8 months as a patient hunter, watching and waiting for the perfect moment. This was it. Not the trap he'd originally planned, but something far more important. A chance to be more than a victim, more than a hunter, more than opposing sides in an endless war. A chance to be something better. Part 5. The choice that changes everything. The contested systems were eerily beautiful. 3 planets orbiting a dying red giant, bathed in crimson light that made everything look like it was dipped in blood. The Aurora Dawn and Zara's flagship Crimson Eclipse had made the journey in silence, both ships running dark to avoid detection. Now they floated among the debris field of an ancient civilization, sensors scanning for the energy signatures they'd identified weeks ago. "Got something," Marcus reported over a secure channel linking their bridges. 3rd planet, Northern Hemisphere. Massive underground facility, definitely not natural. Energy output is off the charts. "I'm reading the same. But there's more." Zara's voice was tense. 7 Zeltari ships in orbit, heavy cruisers. And they're not military configuration. They're mining vessels with military escorts. Marcus felt puzzle pieces clicking into place. They're excavating something. Precursor technology? Has to be. This is what High Command has been hiding. This is why they've been keeping the Coalition forces distracted with colony raids. They deployed a stealth probe together, combining their technological advantages. The footage it sent back made both of them catch their breath. The underground facility was massive, clearly built by the ancient precursor civilization that had vanished millennia ago, but the Zeltari had opened it, and inside, strange crystalline structures pulsed with energy that sensors couldn't fully analyze. "Weapons," Zara said quietly. "Precursor weapons. That's what they're after. Technology powerful enough to tip the balance of power in the entire sector. And they've been sacrificing your honor, using your fleet as a distraction, while they secretly excavate these sites." Marcus pulled up additional data. "Look at the timeline. Every major raid you conducted corresponds with increased activity at these facilities. They've been using your attacks to keep Coalition intelligence focused elsewhere." Zara's face appeared on his screen, and Marcus saw fury burning in her eyes. "My crew, my reputation, all those lives, just pieces in a game to distract from their real objective. They made me into a monster so they could play with precursor fire. We have proof now. High-resolution scans, energy readings, fleet movements. This is enough to expose the truth to both our governments." "It won't stop the Persis offensive," Zara pointed out. "That launches in 18 hours. Even if we transmit this data immediately, the bureaucracy won't move fast enough." Marcus was quiet for a moment, then made a decision. "What if we don't go through official channels? What if we broadcast this directly to your fleet, to my Coalition forces, to every news network and independent journalist in the sector? That's not just treason, Marcus. That's career suicide for both of us. I know, but it's also the only way to stop 40,000 people from dying while politicians debate about classified information." Zara stared at him through the screen, and Marcus saw the moment she made her choice. The warrior commander who'd followed orders without question for her entire career died in that instant, replaced by someone willing to sacrifice everything for what was right. "Do it," she said. "Prepare the broadcast. I'll open a direct channel to my fleet and record my testimony." They worked quickly, knowing that the moment they transmitted, every military force in the sector would be hunting them. Marcus compiled the evidence while Zara prepared her statement. A commander confessing that she'd been manipulated, that the raids she conducted were part of a larger deception, that the real threat wasn't human colonies, but Zeltri High Command's reckless pursuit of ancient weapons. Ready? Marcus asked, his finger hovering over the transmission command. Wait! Zara's ship suddenly fired maneuvering thrusters, bringing it alongside the Aurora Dawn. If we're going to commit mutual career suicide, I want to be there with you. Docking now. 5 minutes later, Zara burst onto the Aurora Dawn's bridge, immediately moving to Marcus's side. Together, they initiated the broadcast, sending their evidence across every communication channel simultaneously, military frequencies, civilian networks, diplomatic channels, even pirate bands. Within minutes, the truth will be spreading across the entire sector. This is Commander Zara Thorne of the Zeltri Fleet. Zara's recorded message began. I am speaking to you in direct violation of orders because you deserve to know the truth. As her testimony played, alarms began shrieking across both ships. The Zeltri vessels in orbit had detected them and were changing course. More ships were jumping into the system. Coalition and Zeltri both, drawn by the unauthorized broadcast. We've got incoming, Marcus reported, watching the tactical display. Looks like both sides want to silence us before this spreads further. Then let's make sure it spreads. Zara accessed her command codes one final time, transmitting the data directly to her trusted officers, to people she knew would ask the right questions. I've sent copies to 12 different recipients. Even if they destroy us, the truth is out there now. The bridge shuddered as weapons fire splashed against their shields. They were surrounded, outgunned, with nowhere to run. Marcus took Zara's hand. I don't regret any of this. Neither do I. She squeezed back. Though I have to say, being vaporized wasn't my preferred ending to our story. Then something unexpected happened. On the tactical display, 3 of Zara's former ships broke formation, positioning themselves between the Aurora Dawn and the Zeltri attackers. A transmission came through from one of them. Commander Thorne, this is Captain Vex of the Shadowblade. We received your broadcast. We're standing with you. More transmissions followed. Ships from both sides, crews who'd watched the evidence and testimony, who'd questioned their orders and found them lacking. Not everyone. The majority still moved to attack, but enough to create a defensive perimeter, enough to give the truth time to spread. The next hours were chaos. The sector erupted in debate, confusion, and rapidly shifting alliances. Some ships remained loyal to their respective commands. Others, convinced by the evidence, demanded answers. A few opened fire, refusing to accept the truth, but the broadcast kept spreading. Independent journalists picked it up. Civilian stations replayed it. By the time the official orders came down to apprehend Marcus and Zara, the story had already gone viral across dozens of systems. The Perseus offensive was canceled. High Command couldn't launch a devastating attack on civilians, while simultaneously denying they planned such an attack. The political pressure was too great, the public outcry too loud. Marcus and Zara watched it unfold from the bridge of the Aurora Dawn, still surrounded by their unlikely alliance of ships from both sides. We did it, Zara said, sounding almost disbelieving. 40,000 lives saved. At the cost of our careers, our reputations, and possibly our freedom, Marcus pointed out. We're both wanted for treason now. Worth it. Zara turned to face him fully. Though I should mention, several of my former officers have suggested we disappear into neutral space. They're willing to provide us with a ship, supplies, and a head start before either government decides what to do with us. Marcus considered this. They could run, build a new life somewhere beyond the reach of military justice. Or they could stay and face the consequences of their choices. Trust that the truth they reveal would ultimately matter more than the rules they'd broken. What do you want to do? He asked. Zara smiled, that fierce expression he'd first seen during their confrontation weeks ago. I want to see this through. The truth is out there, but someone needs to make sure it leads to actual change. Precursor weapons, secret excavations, the manipulation of military forces. This goes deeper than one offensive. We've opened a door. Now, we need to make sure people walk through it. So we stay, face the court-martials, the tribunals, the political firestorm. Together, Zara confirmed, we started this partnership with you hunting me across the stars. Seems fitting we face the consequences together, too. Marcus pulled her close, kissing her deeply despite the chaos surrounding them. When they broke apart, he kept his forehead pressed against hers. You know, I spent 8 months watching you, waiting for the perfect moment to spring my trap. Turns out the trap was for both of us. I caught you, you caught me, and now we're stuck together. Stuck is such a negative word, Zara murmured. I prefer committed to a course of action with an attractive, slightly obsessive former stalker. I really need you to stop calling it stalking. Never. The tactical display showed more ships arriving, a formal coalition delegation, along with Zeltari diplomatic vessels. The reckoning was coming. Both of them would face justice, judgment, and likely punishment for their actions. But as Marcus stood on his bridge with Zara beside him, surrounded by evidence that the truth they revealed was already changing the political landscape, he felt something he hadn't experienced since before his sister's death. Hope. The human had never been their victim. He'd been watching, waiting, learning. But in the end, he'd become something more, a partner to a former enemy, a catalyst for truth, and proof that even in the darkness of war, people could choose conscience over convenience. The future was uncertain, their legal status questionable, their careers destroyed, but they'd saved 40,000 lives. They'd exposed conspiracy that could have led to devastating war. And they'd found each other in the process. Two warriors who'd learned that sometimes the most important battle isn't the one you fight against your enemies, but the one you fight for your principles. As the diplomatic vessels moved into position, and Marcus prepared to open communication channels, Zara squeezed his hand one more time. Ready for the next phase? She asked. Marcus smiled. I've been waiting for the perfect moment. This seems like it. Together, they faced the incoming transmissions, ready to defend their actions and fight for the truth they'd risked everything to reveal. The human had been watching and waiting. But now, finally, he was moving forward, not alone, but with a partner who matched his courage, his intelligence, and his commitment to being something more than what others expected. The war wasn't over. The political battles were just beginning. But Marcus Kane and Zara Thorne had already won the most important victory. They refused to be victims or villains, and had chosen instead to be something far more dangerous. They'd chosen to be conscience in a universe that preferred convenient lies. And that choice would echo across the stars for years to come. The end.